You made it.
Just barely.
Problems or just...
The idle is a little low, so she died at one stoplight, but luckily it started up okay. Still getting things a little bit tuned in here. I think this is the second ride I've been on since
since the rebuild.
After the rebuild. Adjust the idle here real quick.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Anyways,
well, thank you for coming over, Dave.
Well, made it this far out.
Yeah,
luckily it's a short distance. Still some little tweaking to do.
Yeah.
I think the left handlebar is just a half a smidge higher than the other one, so you notice it just a little bit. You can actually tell the difference. Of course, when you're sitting on it, you can't tell, but when you're riding it, that's when you can actually notice.
Yeah, they're independent, of course, aren't they?
Yeah, with the clip-ons.
Yeah, clip-ons, yes.
So,
funny how you notice. It's only when you get riding that you
really
notice things like that. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I don't even know how many miles I have on it since the rebuild. A couple of miles on it so far, so obviously not enough.
But that's brilliant though, right? I mean, from that full rebuild. That was a great series.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's a great series.
I think the guys enjoyed that very much. It's always great to see the end of it when the bike's actually running and on the road again and riding. You know,
yeah.
There's one thing to rebuild an engine, but then
make sure it actually works.
Yes.
That's something else, isn't it?
True, yes. Yeah, so. But you've not had the chance to even get the revs up, have you? You know, take it.
Well, I don't want to rev it up too much on a fresh motor, so I'm keeping it under 4 for right now. Maybe when I get a couple hundred miles on and stuff like that, maybe 500 miles on, then put the wellies to it.
Yeah. Give it some welly.
That's right.
Well, it looks really terrific.
Oh,
it's lovely.
I did not stretch beforehand, I'll tell you that much. Every once in a while I had to look down, hope the number's in front of me, just so I could stretch my neck a smidge. I mean, the Guzzi is one thing, but this is a totally different
ballpark. But you're in the Guzzi, aren't you?
What's that?
You're sort of sitting in it, aren't you?
You are, but it's still not the stretch.
Yeah.
This one is a full-on stretch. Of course, I haven't had the fairing on for years.
No, you know, you took that off. I remember you taking
it
off.
off for a long time and just ran handlebars, and that was supremely comfortable.
Yeah.
But of course, since I don't have a lick of common sense, obviously, I'm just. But you know, this isn't your everyday bike either. That's why you have spares. So we'll get that. The interstate's on it when you have to go somewhere and you don't want to.
Yeah.
Have to do yoga beforehand.
Hey, what can you tell us about this bike? Because you've had this for years, haven't you?
I have. I bought this as a basket case around 92 or so, and I kept the bike, never put it together, and then eventually I gave it to my brother for him to put together, and he wanted to go road racing. And so he bought all of the racing parts for it, and that's all the Norville production racer parts that you see here. He collected up all the parts, but then he started to calculate how much it cost to go road racing, and he gave up. It was going to be expensive enough to build the bike, let alone go racing too. So he just held on to everything, and then he drove out from North Carolina to here one year. This is almost probably 10 years ago or so, and brought the bike and all the parts. And so at that point, I said, I'm going to put it together, and so that's when I started building the bike.
And it's a Combat, isn't it?
It is a 72 Combat. Yeah, the proper Combat head, obviously the disc brake and such. It's a beautiful bike to ride. It's just a blast to ride. So put it together. There's tons of articles and postings on AccessNorton about the build, the original build, which took quite a while. It took me years to build it.
You've got thousands of posts, haven't you, Mr. Swoosh Dave?
Yeah, there's a few tens of thousands of posts. Don't have the most posts, but it's up there.
Yeah.
I think I'm top 3, or I've been slacking off lately, so we'll see. Then I finally got the bike together and rode it around for a few years. But I was riding around I don't know, was it 3 years ago or so?
Yeah.
And I had pulled the timing cover off, and then the rest of the story is really in the whole rebuild series video, so I won't bore people too much because I know a lot of people have watched that already.
That was a magic series,
Yeah,
you know,
that
to
was
take
a lot
it
of
through
fun.
the entire rebuild and then
Yeah.
getting the bike started at the end. It's so satisfying, isn't it, to
Yeah.
see it running at the end?
So we put with everybody's help, I got the bike back together, the engine back together. So it is the original head, which was rebuilt, but the barrel and the bottom end was all from the spare motor that I bought. I've still got the original motor with a sizable hole in it. Maybe one day
yes.
I'll get that patched up and put it back into the bike. We'll see.
You want to keep that, don't you? So you got
I'm
your
gonna
matching
keep that.
numbers and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we put this together. When was that? Last July?
Yeah.
And I
You
just
did
haven't
it
had
all.
much time to ride this one. About that time, though, it was late summer when I got the Interstate back too, the one we saw in a previous cul-de-sac video.
And you're to blame for getting me involved with Nortons as well. You introduced me to the Norton Club.
I will take that.
Yeah. I'm grateful for that, yeah.
For a few years, though, after I put it together, I took the fairing off and just put a standard handlebars on it, which is incredibly comfortable with the production racer seat and rear sets and tank even. It's actually not too bad. But I decided this time, since I've got another Norton, that this could go back to the full racer setup. And this is really the first time I've had a good crack at it, and I did not stretch enough.
It looks the business though, doesn't it?
The one thing I'm really happy with, this thing shifts so nicely. It's just like butter.
Yeah.
That gearbox is just so sweet. It's just a pleasure to just shift this thing. One of the modifications this bike has, of course, is a primary belt drive, which I just love. And then the other thing, when we put the bike back together this last time, is I put on one of Don Pender's single pull throttle gantries. And that thing is just a joy. The pull on the throttle is just so light. And of course, it can never come out of sync, so it's just brilliant. When I first put the bike together, I just had the standard Norville setup with their fairing bracket and such, and it went right up against the head steady, or the headstock here. And then I had to build some fork stops in there. Well, with that setup, your turning radius would be just minuscule. It made it really difficult to ride, and that was one of the reasons I took the clip-ons off and went to the handlebars. So what I ended up doing, based on some research from the AccessNorton folks, is that Norville will sell you also a spacer for a measly 45 pounds or so to actually push the fairing forward and actually increase your steering lock. So it's actually much more pleasant right now. I've actually got quite a bit of turning radius. The forks hit the fairing bracket, but I put some stops in there. So that's my current solution here, but
That's good.
definitely gained quite a few degrees of turn with this. So of course, after the disaster with the engine, I had to put an oil pressure sensor on this bike. I've got the oil pressure sensor on, but I haven't hooked it up yet. I do have the wiring yet to do and figure out where I'm going to put the idiot light, but that'll be one of my next projects.
Thanks for coming over and stretching its legs.
It needed
We'll
it.
try a longer ride sometime as well. I'd love that.
Well, I'm going to try to go out. We'll see how it's running
Yeah.
as I leave here, and I may keep going, or I may
Okay.
go home if I'm feeling nervous.
And then when you want to do a little, if you need a wingman, just let me know, and I'll get my Norton running and we'll take a longer ride.